Everybody, this is Jack from Long Walk Ministries. I just wanted to reflect a little bit on 2020. My daughter made a comment to me the other day, yesterday actually. She said this year, she just wants a year to where everything goes as planned, because obviously 2020 has not gone as planned. I can't imagine anyone's whose plans have been completed, because 2020 has thrown so much at us, and it's not quite over yet, with the election still rolling in. And my first response to her of what I wanted to make, but I didn't because it would have led to a dispute, was it's not supposed to be. And what I mean by that, 2020 is nothing has gone like people's plans, right? Everyone has plans for their future, for their retirement, for their kids, for their lives, goals and all that stuff. We've been told all our lives that we should plan goals, you can be all you can be, and such. And it's good to be driven, it's good to have goals, it's good to have focus, because the other side of that is to have no drive whatsoever, and that's not a productive part of community or anything, a family, anything. So it's good to have that. But I think we can get carried away with that, because life obviously can throw things at us that throws everything out of whack, and life tends to do that all by itself. Well, 2020 has been an exception, and we have had everything thrown at us, and it's not over. So, and what my comment was, it's not meant to be. I say that because 2020 is a year. I'm a believer in Christ. I believe in Christ. I gave him my life. I believe he resurrected. He's the only justification for my salvation. I'm a born-again believer. So I trust God and have learned to trust God in my walk, my day-to-day long walk, marathon walk with Christ, and I've learned to trust him with almost everything. So when bumps come along my road, I give it to him, and I ask him for understanding on these and what is happening. I don't want to fret, I don't want to worry. I want to know that he's got this. Through my studies of prophecy, I've come to realize, not just me alone, these are scholars, these are biblical scholars, Muslim scholars, Hebrew scholars, have come up with the same conclusion, that we are in the end days. We are actually in the end hours. That's not my opinion. Minutes, possibly. In other words, Jesus' second coming is right around the corner. We are so close that at one point I wanted to write a book and title it Jesus is Coming for Dinner, but I didn't. We are so close that God is doing things to prepare us for this time, because in this time, as I have told people and my wife, that during this time, she goes, "Oh, that's great." I said, "Yeah, it's great, but certain things are going to happen before then, and not good things, bad things, difficult things, trials, tribulations are going to happen." Which is fine if you put your full faith into Christ and God and not worry about a thing. And some people do that and can do that. I wasn't one of them. I worried about everything and my plans. Well, God straightened me out. So back to my daughter's statement. 2020 is a year when nothing has gone as planned. The only plan that's on focus right now is God's plan, and his is going perfectly. Ours is not going perfectly, because our plans usually do not include God. And if they do, they usually go in the lines of the way we want them to go. To God to bless me in my life, and to give my family a big house, and my daughter what she wants, and a whole bunch of grandkids and whatnot. And there's nothing wrong with that. But obviously, apparently, I don't believe That's God's plan. God's plan in these end times are to strengthen His church and build the faith of His church so that they can be the light in the end of days. And one way to strengthen our faith is pretty much get our attention. All our plans are null and void, and we are to recognize His plans and follow His plans and trust Him in His plans. There weren't many in the desert for those 40 years that trusted God in His plan. Basically, a handful. Joshua, Caleb, Moses trusted. I'm sure Aaron did. But the rest, the generation, they did not. So in these end days, God is trying us. He's trying us for a reason. Like I wanted to tell my daughter, it's supposed to be that kind of year. 2021 is probably going to be another one of those years unless God gives us a break in our birth pains. If He doesn't, it's going to be more difficult. My wife mentioned that the prices of food is going very high, skyrocketing. Those of us who study prophecy knew this was going to happen because there's a famine coming. Jesus said there would be a famine coming. Joseph in Egypt predicted a famine. And that was a foreshadowing of the coming of Christ. And I believe it's also a foreshadowing of the second coming of Christ in the tribulation. Because there's 7 good years and 7 bad years. And it took the 7 bad years to get Israel's attention, to humble them, so they may come to the Gentiles, Egypt, and ask for food and sustenance. Joseph is also a type and a shadow of Christ. So in these last days, 2020 and onward, things aren't going to go as planned. Unless your plan includes God's plan. And I don't know of anyone that knows God's plan completely. They could see Him working. They could see it in the Bible. They could see what's going on and say, God, I see you doing this because you've done it before. Thank you for telling us. So 2020, yes, it was a year where nothing went right. It was a year of tribulation, a year of testing. The next question will be, what is 2021 going to be like? Are things going to go back to normal? I dare say no, they're not. Because why would God test us and build our faith? He's either going to, 1, continue building our faith, which means increased more trials and tribulations. And I don't mean the tribulation, I just mean tribulations, trouble. Or 1, He's going to say, okay, you've built your faith, now go and be the light and the salt like you were supposed to be if you're a Christian. If God doesn't think we're ready, we'll get another year of trials and tribulation to build our faith even more. In these end times, it's going to be a time of trials and tribulation and birth pains. We are not going to go back to normal. This country is not going to go back, the United States is not going to go back to being like it was a couple years ago where everyone's like, oh, okay, we have another president, no big deal. The presidents in these times matter greatly. That's why God's hand is on the election. They matter greatly. They can go either way. So the future is going to hold a little more trials and tribulation, and our job as Christians are to increase our faith, to rely on God more and more and more so that we may be the light. We're going to be the ones that people who don't know Christ look toward, because we don't seem to be bothered by the trials and tribulation of what's coming. The lack of food, the lack of law and order, the lack of morals, and that's coming. I see it because I work in law enforcement, And I could see the lack of law and order. We all saw it in the riots. Right now there's no more riots, but there will be when as these election results plow forward. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I want to keep these 10 minutes so people can actually listen to them and do listen to them. I ask you please to like and maybe subscribe, but please like so this gets out. I think this is an important word in a sense where it can help build faith. It might give people confidence in Christ, give them peace in Christ, and if not, they know it's right around the corner. All they have to do is trust Him. Trust Him with everything. People think that walking with Christ, walking with God is an easy thing. It's not. It's a very difficult thing. They think faith in God is easy. It's not. Faith doesn't mean just believing He is who He says He is. Faith means trusting Him through all things, that He is who He says He is, and He's going to do what He says He's going to do. It's very difficult when the world keeps saying the world is falling, the United States is falling, the government's not going to be the same. That may be true, but trust God. He has this under control. That's not something that you do at a light switch. That is something you do by day to day. Look at the military guys. If you're in the military, you know what I'm talking about, and I thank you for your service. May God bless you in your sacrifices. But it takes how long? You don't walk into the army and say, okay, I trust you, I'm going to trust you with my life, because that's not how it works. There are some people in the army that you will not trust with your life. You wouldn't trust them with your toothbrush. Same in law enforcement. But there are those that you continually go through trials and tribulation with day in and day out, and you know you can trust your life with this person. And you often do. It's no different with Christ. If you don't day to day walk with Him and see how He is saving your life and recognize it, and learn to trust Him with your life day to day, you're not going to be able to do it in a firefight. You may, because you're going to have to. You have no other recourse. But while you're thinking about that, someone's shooting at you, you want to trust Him without even thinking about it. That's building up your faith and your trust in God. So, long enough. God bless you guys. I love you, and I will talk to you later. Bye.